You're watching Gamer MD83's channel. She's not a redhead, but she'll do just fine.
What's up, guys? I'm Gamer MD83, and today I'm joined with a very special person. I'm sure you guys know who he is. This is Freddie Prinze Jr. We all know him from a lot of on-screen stuff, but gamers have taken him into our hearts as the voice of Iron Bull in Dragon Age Inquisition and James Vega in Mass Effect 3. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, right on. This is where the gaming happens. This is the attic where all the gaming goes down. You can see my little girl stuff and my little boy stuff over there.
Nice.
And over there. But in this section right here, it's all gaming all the time.
Nice. That's what I was going to say, is that you're actually a huge gamer, right?
Yeah, since I was a little kid. I'm old enough to have played the very first crappy video games.
Oh.
And I've played all the way to the newest, crappiest video games. And everything in between.
What was your favorite?
My favorite Atari game will always be Combat, because that was just one-on-one, right?
Damn, you're hardcore Atari. That's nice.
Well, that's my generation.
Yeah.
I also love Pitfall, and I know everybody hated E.T., but I really liked E.T. I thought it was a cool game.
I saw a lot of hate on E.T.
Oh, yeah. People were like, it's
the worst game
in the universe of all time. I'm like, I played some worse since then, but okay. And then with Nintendo, I was a big Zelda guy. I was a big Metroid guy.
Nice.
And there was this weird game called Golgo 13, The Professional, which was based off this anime. And back when it came out, they still called it Japanime, which now people are like, oh God, you can't say that, man. But back in the day, that's what it was.
I remember that too. I was like, yeah, they used to call it.
I only got the game because I lived right by this old like VHS beta shop back when like beta discs or beta tapes were almost dead. But they were like barely hanging on, and it was the anime market that was helping them hang on. And I got this crazy anime called Golgo 13, The Professional, and I never returned it. I kept it for years and years because I was just obsessed with it. And they went out of business, so I didn't have to pay any late fee.
Nice.
But I saw the game randomly in a video game shop, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get this game. I was like 13 years old. And he was James Bond but Japanese basically, and way cooler and way better with the ladies, and there were sharks, and I mean it was a crazy game. It was a side scroller, but it was really, really fun.
Cool.
And then I literally graduated to Sega Saturn, which kind of sucked, but I still played. I remember, what did I play after that? I played, of course, N64 and all the Legend of Zeldas throughout the series. The only one I don't have, the only Nintendo I didn't play is the newest one.
The Wii U?
Xbox serves pretty much all my gaming needs, and now with the X1, even my kids. So I'm a console guy, and I used to have everything. I had to have everything. But I played everything from, Metal Gear, the first one, to Shinobi. Shinobi was such a cool game. I played, Ninja Turtles in the arcades like every other kid. Simpsons. There was a sweet skateboard game called 720. That game was awesome. It had the dial joystick. Old school guys will remember that one.
Did you play Paperboy?
And all that. Oh, yeah, Paperboy was great. I downloaded that again on the Xbox 360, and it didn't hold up because you really needed the bicycle feel. It just felt different and wrong. But yeah, I loved Paperboy. All those old school Atari games were great. Although I don't know, that might have been Konami or something else. I don't think that was Atari. It might have been,
I think it was after, because I barely remember the Atari. I remember Nintendo.
Atari kind of sucked, and I get why people are like, why would you ever want to play that again? But if you grew, it's like baseball and soccer.
Yeah.
Like baseball is really slow and boring, but if you're raised on it, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was raised on it, so it's awesome. But yeah, I played everything. I can't even Rampage. I remember playing Rampage with the three. What were their names? I used to know George, Ralph, and Lizzie. Those were their names. And I used to love that in the arcade. And then, of course, Street Fighter and all that violence.
Who was your Street Fighter?
I was pretty good with a lot of them, but the way to humiliate guys was to beat them with Dalzim. So I would always play with
Ooh,
Dalzim, and that would just break guys' wills to play against me, and they'd literally take their quarter
nice.
off and go to another machine.
See, I like hearing when someone chooses someone different besides Ken or Ryu. You know,
Yeah, because you beat someone with Ken, they'll play you 40 times,
I know
right?
it's just
You
like, oh
beat
come
them
on,
with Dalzim, and they're like,
what?
man, forget this guy. Forget. I'm gonna go play Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
instead.
E Honda was viral.
Oh, that's another one.
Man,
Like
you
you
get
beat
someone
with
in the
Honda, and they
corner.
get humiliated. They get humiliated, especially if they can't jump over it.
Yeah, and you're just
And
like,
you can just get the fist of fury on them, and it literally would drive guys at the putt in
exactly.
Albuquerque, New Mexico, and say, I got in a fight one time over Real Street Fighter, and the guy did a move that you're not supposed to do. They called it ticking, where he like jumps high and comes down with a short attack and throws right away, and it's
Uh-huh.
kind of a hack, kind of
Oh,
glitch
because he
move.
can't move.
And I said, hey man, if that's how you're gonna play, then I'm gonna do that too. And he's like, whatever. And so I basically ticked him for the whole second round, and the guy got so hot, and and literally used the word squab. He goes, you trying to squab? And so I just KO'd him right there because I didn't know what that meant, but I knew he wanted to get hit. So that was game over. That was the putt in Albuquerque, New
Oh my
Mexico. I
god.
think I was in the 6th or 7th grade, man. I don't remember when that game was out. It was a long time ago.
When did you decide, okay, I'm retiring as an on-screen actor?
Who? Right when I got my sitcom off the air, this was about 11 years ago. My family really pressured me to go into acting, and not in a bad way, but just when my grandfather got sick, he never liked my dad, and blamed my dad for a lot of stuff. And I remember he had cancer, and this isn't a sad story. He was a good man. He lived a long life. He got cancer, and back then, if you got cancer, that was it. And nowadays, there's amazing
Oh
medicine
yeah.
that can help people, but unfortunately, it's in my family, and it's got a lot of us. But my grandfather lived a long life, and he was on his, he was in hospice care. He didn't have
Yeah.
long left. And he asked me to come into his room, and he held my hand. He was still really strong. He had this anchor tattoo on his arm. He was in the Navy. That's how he came from Italy, and they said, "Do you want to learn English?" And I think he was literally an Ellis Island refugee.
Mm.
And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "Sign here," and that was the Navy. So that's how they scammed him to join the armed forces. But anyway, he was a real tough guy. He was on the USS Nevada too, which was like one of the only ships to get out of Pearl Harbor, which
Oh
was sick.
wow.
He said, I never saw the war, but I heard every bomb drop.
Oh.
And that's what he would always say when he talked about the war. But anyway, he was super strong, and he grabbed my hand, and he's holding my hand real tight, and he says, Federi, and Freddie, he says, did you clean your room today? I was like 15. I go, yeah. And he goes, I'm so proud of you. And when you're 15, you don't know it. You're like, okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you're older, you're like, oh, God, he was saying it for everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thanks, Papa. I called him Papa. I said, thanks, Papa. And he goes, your father really screwed things up. And one day, you have to fix it. And an hour later, he was dead. So it was like this mountain of okay, this is what I
Wow.
need to do. And it made my mom feel good, even though she was nervous. It made her feel good. And it made my father's mother, my grandmother, Mary, who's passed on, it made her feel really good. And it filled his cousins with a lot of pride, even the ones I didn't know. Like, I'll just run into people that say they're related to me in New York. They're just Puerto Rican. Like, hey, Freddie, I'm your cousin. All right. And you're like, yeah, okay, right on, man.
Nice.
And they don't care that I'm a Puerto Rican. Just if you got a little in you, they're like, oh, come on. So it made my family feel really good, and I worked very hard at taking a certain type of role that would people wouldn't be able to say, oh, a Puerto Rican playing a drug dealer or any sort
Yeah.
of Latino play, because those are like the only roles out there. And I look super vanilla ice cream and take you home. Well, back then I'm older and grayer now, but back then I was take you home to meet your mom, and so it was very mainstream my look, and so accomplishing kind of what my family was hoping for was you know, easy as far as what they wanted, but it was never necessarily what I wanted. So
Right.
once I did the sitcom and everything kind of came full circle, because for those who don't know, my dad had a really cool sitcom in the 70s
Yeah.
called Chico and the Man. And if it's on YouTube, I don't know if it is, but you should check it out, or anything my dad did.
Some
'Cause he
some
was
of
way
his stand
funnier
up. I
than I
saw
am.
some of his stand up today, and I was like, man, this guy's funny.
He was the man. If he
Yeah.
could have stuck around, he could have been like a top shelf guy,
Yeah.
but he just didn't have the the resume to hang with those other cats. But before he died, he got the job from Bill Cosby who's now a son of a bitch, but back then was the top dog in Vegas, and my dad got the Caesar's Palace gig from him, and Bill like hated my dad after that. And would like talk crap about him, but my
Oh,
dad didn't care. He was like, "Yo, he's doing it for two, I'll do it for one." And like that's how he got the job. He just hustled it. But
nice.
anyway, when I did the sitcom, it was very much for my father. I created the production company. Everyone in LA has a production company, but this one actually produced a show, and I did my dad's old logo, which was Hungarican. He had this joke about being half Hungarian, half Puerto
Oh
Rican.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
remember that. Yeah,
even though his dad was German, but it sounded funnier to do Hungarican than
Hungarian. Yeah.
Germarican. And so I did that logo with my dad's voice at the end of it, and did a show I felt was in the same heart as the show he did, which was grumpy old person, young cocky person, and that was the grandma and me. And to me, she played the Jack Albertson role from Chico and the Man. Only
Mm-hmm.
she only spoke Spanish, so if you didn't read the
Such a
subtitle on the bottom, you couldn't get the joke, which I preferred. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
our what were they called? Standards and practices person, which is basically like the censor who tells you you can't do any of the fun stuff you wrote. You can only do crappy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't speak Spanish because ABC back then didn't hire Latino people in a position above freaking janitor. So we would just say whatever we wanted, and
Very
they didn't
cool.
know. I think Isai Morales on one of the episodes literally says "pinga," which you can't say on national TV, and they had no idea. When they got hot
Oh,
with
that's
me, and they were like,
brilliant.
"Freddie, you guys shouldn't be doing this," and da da da. I was like, "Well, then you guys should hire somebody that speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool." And so that was my little like middle finger to them, but haha on me, they canceled me. So I still got to like make my point. But when they canceled the show, the point of all this long-winded answer is, I didn't feel like I had really anything left to do. I didn't feel like I had any goals left in that part of the business
Right.
to accomplish. So I took a few more jobs because look, they pay really
Right.
well, but it wasn't like following up this passionate
Mm-hmm.
dream. And I was starting to have a family and settle down when 24 started. Was when my daughter was born. And so when that show was over, it was sort of, I was done. It was sort of game over, and until I took that crazy job working for Vince McMahon and WWE. And
You were in the production, weren't you?
yeah, but I was on the jet with Vince, and we would fly. I mean, I didn't miss a live show. I went to every single Monday Night Raw and every single Friday night, but we would shoot it on Tuesday Night SmackDown. And was writing for multiple guys on multiple shows, and
Very cool.
and directing segments
Wow.
backstage as you hustle and are giving guys lines like 5 minutes before you go on. I'm like, look, just say it like this, okay, ready, go. And they would kill it, and sometimes they wouldn't, but that was like the nature of the beast. It was
Yeah.
live TV, and there's not a lot of time. Saturday Night Live, there's not a lot of time. That's why there's a whole lot of cue cards.
Right.
And you can tell the ones that the actor really liked because they don't look at the cue cards. They memorize those segments.
Yeah.
And if you see them kind of look off for some weird reason, it's because they didn't give a crap about that segment, and they didn't think it was that good. Um, that's a little secret for you. But yeah, so I took that job, but Vince was mad cool with my schedule and would fly me in and out, and really took good care of me so I could be not a stay-at-home dad, but a dad at least.
Yeah.
And then that schedule was just, it's too macho man for me. I don't know how they do it. They're so tough, and I'm so not tough.
I saw. I
They
saw
work
on YouTube this.
300 plus days a year, man. I was
Oh
like,
man,
yo, where's your home? Like, where's
it's
your house?
crazy.
Like, you don't see it. So I left. I went back another time in a lesser capacity, and just worked with guys on their acting and promos that other people were writing, or I would help them write something that came from their own instruments so that they could actually get themselves over instead of trying to make someone else's dialogue
That's
work.
cool.
Whether it was good or crappy didn't matter. If you don't know how to do someone else's thing, then you're going to suck at it. You got
Yeah.
to be able to make it your own. And so I did that, but that was like the first job I ever did that like I wanted to do.
That you actually loved. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, wow, this is so cool. But it sort of burnt me out, and again, that schedule, I could have handled it maybe in my 20s, but
Yeah.
when I was young and dumb. But once I had a family, that was just too hardcore for me.
Voice acting. When did you get
Yeah.
into that?
You know, I did a couple movies and they were fun, but it was just something to do between jobs. I did this gig with my wife called Happily Never After,
Mm-hmm.
and she voiced the princess, and I voiced like I think his name was like Rick the dishwasher or something. Like he's a scrub, but he's the hero too. He rises up, and when the prince fails, and it was fun, but I never even thought video games would be an option. Like my brain didn't go there. I just never. I'm not Seth Green. I didn't grow
Right,
up in
right.
this business, and I don't. He knows everything about voiceover. He knows everything about what I know about, which is movies and TV.
Yeah,
He knows everything about animation, which I don't know. He knows
yeah.
everything. I know like three things, okay, and that's it. So, to me, it was never something that was on the table. I just didn't think they approached guys like me. And then randomly, Mass Effect 3 came my way, and I had just played Mass Effect 2 for like the 12,000th run
Oh,
through
that's what I was gonna ask if
on.
you were already a fan.
Oh yeah, like
Oh, dude,
from
that's
the
awesome.
first one, I literally was like, "Wow, this game is amazing. It's a choose your own adventure book in a video game."
Right?
And I didn't know we were allowed to do that creatively. And so I was hooked. And you can take it to an interactive sci-fi novel, or even an interactive sci-fi romance novel if you
Yeah.
want to get hyper technical. And you get to jump into the book. And I got this new passion for games, because before that it was just, Call of Duty, Halo, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Halo, kill, 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 smash, 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 kill, kill, kill,
Exactly.
smash, smash, smash. My buddy had I bought this. He wanted to get rid of this arcade game, and it was an old Cyber Ball, this old Robo football game. And I was like, "Ooh, yeah!" So that was like my old school game that I had. But I was really just, blood and guts, blood and guts, blood and guts, because video games had crappy stories. To be honest, they weren't
Exactly.
good,
Yeah.
and the characters I didn't care about because everyone sounded like this. And at a certain point, I just want to freaking kill myself because everyone sounds like they're taking a crap, and I just get maybe if I did that voice I would book more video games, but I just
Probably.
can't. Like
Maybe in the
my heart's
past.
just my heart's not in it, you know what I mean? So they made this weird offer. I don't know why, but they offered me Vega for Mass Effect 3, and I wasn't working at the time, and I was like, "Oh my God, do they know that I play?" And my manager's like at the time was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure they do." He doesn't know. He's just saying that to like shut me up.
Wow.
And it's not like a big money deal, so the manager's like, "Okay, great, go have your fun with your video game." Like they don't care. They don't want to hear. They don't
With
even
your
take the
video
phone call,
games.
right? Like they're not trying to hear all that. But
And you're like
anyway,
freaking out.
yeah, I'm going bananas. So I'm like, "Yo, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do it." So I go in for the first session, and it's with this dude Mac and
Hmm.
Caroline, and in like 5 seconds, like Mac's breaking down this scene for me and how it's gonna go, and then I interrupt him and I'm like, "Dude, hold on a second. So you're basically talking about Omega, and this is how this broke down, and Arya is this kind of person, and she's a mob boss, and I respect that." And he literally was like, "Yeah, okay, so you've really played the game a lot." I was like, "Dude, I know exactly what you want." I was like, "Just give me notes on performance. You don't have to break down any scene. You don't have to tell me about any character or their history or their heritage. I know all about everybody, everything, as well as any dork that you've ever talked to." And he just started laughing, and Caroline and I, that's when we really started to get a cool rapport. 'Cause she knew I got it, and she knew I would go for stuff,
That's
and
so
that
cool.
random dialogue in the game where you're yelling about killing stuff. I
Yeah.
know not to go berserk when you kill a little thing, and that stuff would make me crazy in games, or someone would be like, "Yeah," and you're like, "Dude, that's a little rabbit that we killed for loot." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what are you screaming for? And so I really just I just wanted it to be perfect, man. You know what I mean? Because I
Oh.
love games. And two, for me, Mass Effect 2 is a top 5 game ever. I put it up there with Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And I know 3 didn't live up to what people wanted it to live up to, and I know that they didn't. But I also know, I should say, that they didn't get to tell the whole story that they want
Yeah.
to tell. And look, when you set a hard release date for a movie or a game, you're already limiting yourself,
Yeah.
and because if there are any problems, now you have to play catch up.
Right.
If there's a budget thing, if someone gets hurt, if there's a glitch that they can't work out in the amount of time they thought they could, then you're hosed. That's why Blizzard always kills it,
Yeah.
because they go, "Well, when's it coming out?" And they go, "When it's done."
Yeah. When it's done.
And
Yeah.
that's their go-to answer. And you know what? They get it right
Yeah. Rockstar does that
most of the
too.
time. Yeah, when it's ready. You know, a game like when you talk Grand Theft Auto is probably one of the most expensive games ever made. So let's keep every dollar in that
Yeah.
production and let word of mouth spread. People
Right,
are going to
right.
buy the game. They trust the brand, they trust the series. Everybody loves Nico. Everybody just wants to be Trevor. That's all I know. Trevor's one of the greatest characters in the history. He's like Link. Like he's that cool. Like I'm telling you,
He's so
that
well
guy
written.
that guy, well written, but you have to act your ass off to pull that
Oh,
kind of dialogue off, and to be able to commit to that level of crazy. He's either the actor. I don't know his name, but he was amazing. Whoever you were and whoever he was, like to be able to commit that much and not be locked in an insane asylum by the end of that. And to my knowledge, he's still walking around. Then that just means you're really good, like
yeah.
really,
I was like,
really good. And it
damn.
it did more than compliment the animation, and it did more than compliment the writing. It was so good that I felt the animation and writing complemented the performance, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
feel like that. I don't even feel like that about games or Star Wars things that I've done. I'm like, nah, I'm a piece of that. You know what I mean? But in this case, like Trevor was the piece, and we all just sort of orbited around
Yeah.
him. You know, he was the best. He's the reason I still play the game is just to see him like wake up on the beach half naked with a
Same
dead
here.
body
Same
next to him
here.
and be
Like,
like, "Wait, what?
yeah, yeah.
Huh?
And I'd get a kick
Okay."
out of like changing his clothes and making him look
Yeah,
super
man.
weird.
You make him look like a tourist
Yeah.
who just like walked down the
Those
street with a
crazy
Gatling
hats.
gun. You know what I mean? And Trevor would be down for that. He'd be like, "Ah, it looks fantastic."
James Vega.
Oh boy, he's a good-looking Krogan.
Exactly. He was a
Take
beast.
that, Steve Blum.
He was good. But also he also had some really funny things that he would say and do.
Yeah, I like when you try to tell him to fix like a
Oh
computer
my
portal or
god.
something, and he's like,
I
"Well, all
died.
right."
He's like kunk.
Yeah, he hits it with the gun or he
Yeah,
stomps
he
it.
stomps
Something.
on it.
I think they did both. Yeah.
Did you add to his personality or was he pretty much fleshed out on the script?
No, with that one, much more so with James than Bull. I added, and most of it was sort of the East LA or Southwest kind of Mexican vibe that they wanted just in like terminology and things like that. And there were questions just because in Canada there's not a lot of Latinos.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So they asked questions and I answered the ones that I knew, and the ones I didn't I would ask and then let them know. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
cool.
Like, oh, here's what my homie said, who makes bicycles in Echo Park. Or as he would say, Echo Park. Echo.
Vato.
But yeah, so that one there was a little more freedom, especially when they got to DLC and started to add a lot of elements that they hoped people would be into. And so in that one I got to do a lot more just kind of my own thing because it's always more loose
Yeah.
in a DLC session. It's a lot more of and anything you want to do. You hear that a lot over the headset.
That's cool.
And so do two takes and then whatever you want to do. And that's when you know you're doing DLC. You're like, okay, they don't care. It's like the second child. Like, whatever. Let them do it.
Whatever.
So yeah, so that one I did get to do a little bit more of myself, but it was weird because like going back and I didn't know about like YouTube at all, okay, until recently. I told you before the interview started, like I'm not good with technology. Like I'm just now learning about YouTube videos. I'm like, Sarah, look at this. Someone
Whoa.
did a montage of Kanan to a Christina Aguilera song, and she'll be like, yeah, they were doing that in like 1999 or whatever.
It says
started. I don't know.
2009.
Yeah, some stupid thing like that. And I'm like, whoa, okay, whatever. So that was the same thing with James. And someone was like, hey, man, you should see this creepy video someone made of you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I opened the text and it took me to that. And it was like this, they put some like weird, sexy song behind James and like being shirtless. And like, I was like, what the hell is this? I didn't know if it was from BioWare because it was like really well edited. And I didn't know about YouTube. So I was like, what the hell am I looking? This is so weird. And then you see like related videos underneath that, and it was like Vegavid. And I was like, this is crazy. So then I started like figuring it out and getting into it. But looking back, it's so funny. Like I look at Mass Effect 3, which was really the first, I counted as my first voiceover job, even though it wasn't, but it was my first video game voiceover job. So I count that as sort of the birth point.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at that a lot like The House of Yes, which was this little independent movie I did with Parker Posey. Parker Posey, who rules, by the way. And I look back at that movie and I'm like, man, I would change this, I would change that. Oh, I could do so much better now that I know this and I understand this. And I did the same thing with Vegas. So I've literally like picked like if I could re-record that whole game, I would.
Really?
And oh yeah.
How would you change him?
He would have a much heavier accent throughout. Like it wouldn't just be when he's speaking about things he's passionate about. It wouldn't be as hidden and as clipped as we discussed. And I would pitch this. Maybe I get shut down, but they tend to like it if you just say, "Hey, what about this?"
Yeah.
I've learned that now. So I would definitely make him feel literally like he was from Echo Park, like and LA got destroyed and he was a Marine who got away and is like, no, we're not going out like that. We're going back and we're getting Los Angeles back. Which would have been a better movie than Battle for Los Angeles, by the way. But yeah, so that, you know, the James Vega character, like I love him, but he's like me as a voice actor as a baby compared to like where I was at confidence wise with Iron Bull. Like Iron Bull, they could have given me like Patrick could have written any line in the world and I would have been like, yeah, I got that. I know exactly what you want.
Wow.
And I could do it 3 different ways and it would be money like 3 different ways. Though there was the only thing was like the first time you meet Bull, the voice isn't as money as it is in other scenes, and that was like my only thing where I was like, because that's his sort of introduction, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be perfect. And you know, maybe for them that was the take they liked most, and it was the performance over the voice. But you know, I thought certainly in the other scenes, all the takes that were chosen, I really enjoyed hearing it. It didn't. I didn't hear myself hardly at all in it, except in a couple things. And when that happens, you can kind of like lose yourself in it a little bit easier. Whereas James, I'd bring James and be like, I just let him die. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to hear my voice anymore.
Aww.
I can do this without him. We can 3-man it. Come on, here we go. You know what I mean? Like it was just, I don't want to hear it at a certain point. And with Bull, there's, you know, in all the battle stuff, I don't hear my voice. I only hear Bull.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun doing that. Like I had as much fun doing Bull as I do doing Kanan. Like it's an equal level of joy, and it was certainly an equal level of passion and hard work. And any time they gave me, I used. So
I could totally tell with that. Your dialogue as the Iron Bull is very believable and interesting because of how he represents the Qun. He's not there to convert you. He's pretty much the first Kunari that's not hostile about it.
Yeah.
And the Qun is pretty freaking confusing. What did you do to really learn it and to be able to express it the way that Iron Bull does?
Well, to me, like the best comparison for him, there'd be 2. One is the defrocked priest, right? The faithless priest who knows God is there, but has seen so much evil. The left part of his brain, not the creative side, but the logic side says if you're there, you're just not watching because this is hell on earth. Like that's what the defrocked priest sees. Or the other example would be the masterless samurai who you know fought for whoever his master was, whether it be an emperor or whatever, was betrayed by that master. There's a million samurai movies made with this exact story. And so this isn't something like, ooh, Freddie, that's so cool. No, this is
so wise.
Crap. This is from crap that I love. And now has sort of gone off on his own, created his own band of mercenaries, and is such a great warrior, can teach these others to fight at a level that others can't fight at, and now sort of gives himself to rulers across ancient Japan, or Imperial Japan, you would call it back then. So that's how you prepare for him. All the Qun information comes through Caroline and comes through Patrick, and it all comes during the session. Like, here's what we're talking about, and philosophically, here's how it applies to the Qun. And in this case, like with Patrick, like he would challenge it a lot. He says, and in this case, Bull doesn't agree with any of it. He thinks that this part of the Kyun is crap, which is the most anti-Kunari thing you could do.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing. Like every other
Yeah.
Kunari, it's all in. There's never even been an all out. Or I guess there is. You'd be top shot. But it's all in or all out. And for Bull, it's no, I'm not black or white. I'm gonna go right down the middle. I'll be gray. And if you mess with me, I'll be red because I'll be covered in your blood and you'll be gone.
Yeah.
And I love him. Like he's
Yeah.
contrarian. If everyone goes left, he goes right. If everyone goes right, he goes left. He's the most honest character in the game
Yeah.
from Jump Street. He doesn't deceive anyone,
Yeah.
whether it's the Inquisitor character or whether it's anyone else in the game, any of the other henchmen or followers or whatever you like to call them. He tells you what's up with Blackwall
Yeah.
from Jump Street.
From the
if you have him in
get-go,
a group
yeah.
right away, he tells you like, "Oh, your shield style isn't quite how the Grey Wardens would carry
Yeah,
it."
yeah.
I mean, he's playing with him right away, and Blackwall's feeling that. And only like the sharp gamers pick up on those little tiny things, you know.
And he asks him
He's
about
very
the Archdemon as well.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
he's
why do they
constantly,
only
like,
why is it only wardens that could kill them, you know? And you're like, oh snap.
Yeah, man. And I don't think a lot of gamers get a chance to enjoy that because they're not quite paying attention to those little chemistry things. It's more like where's the next demon or where's the next
Yeah.
dragon. But like the hardcore people on Twitter would hit me up and be like, dude, that's so sick. Oh my God, that's so cool. I totally saw that and I didn't think of it until later in the game. That's so cool. And that stuff just makes me, I love it, man. And that's all because of BioWare. That's them making sure that no matter what combination you bring in,
Yeah.
those characters can have a unique personal relationship. So whether it's Bull and crazy ass Sarah thinking she could be in a Kunari and roll with these disciplined samurai Jedi like men and Bull just like laughing, like he didn't even have a line to cut back to her. He just laughs.
Yeah.
Like it's just too funny. He's just like and there's nothing he can do to stop it. And then Sarah just eats it, and it's the only time she eats it in the whole game where she's like, right, well, whatever then. You know, like she just doesn't want to deal with him anymore. And so all those little things, man, that's what make it special. Him and Varric just never taking him seriously and just owning him mentally in every way, shape, or form, to where literally he turns Bull into a beta personality.
Yeah.
And Bull's very susceptible to his compliments and his criticism. And only Vivian and Varric can do that.
Oh.
They're the only ones that can really beta mail him out, right? Where he's like, yes, anything you say.
His
But, like,
relationship with Vivian is absolutely adorable.
It's my favorite. I wish they could actually be together. I wish there was a way.
That would
But
be
like
so
him and
good.
Cassandra, he's alpha male
Yeah.
all
Oh,
the way
yeah.
with Cassandra. Like he's Kobe Bryant. Like he's just, you know, in your face, nonstop. And same way with Sarah. But with the Inquisitor, he's very Omega personality.
Yeah.
He's very, you know, think long term and remember why you started this. You know, he's very much the Yoda in that
Yeah.
relationship, and is completely supportive and is the Omega personality.
Ugh.
And so the fact that they gave that character that much to do, you know, whether it was me or James Arnold Taylor, he voices everything. He could probably do me right now. But like they gave you so much to play with that you'd have to just really suck to screw it up, because you got everything. I've never gotten to play that three-dimensional of a character
Yeah.
before. Not even close. In a movie, in a TV show, nothing, man. Like he's funny, he's serious, he's deadly, he's grief-stricken. He gets to go through everything.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say he could be soft spoken, he could be powerful, he could be funny, serious, teasing, comforting.
Yeah. When they come to kill him, like he's not even mad. It's like he kind of thinks it's his fault. He thinks he deserves it, and then all those emotions switch to, like, they don't even respect me enough to send like legit
Yeah.
hitmen to come kill me. So you get to play all those as an actor, and man, that's you know, anybody worth their salt would chew those scenes up.
Yeah. How did you find that voice? Why that particular voice?
Honestly, it's I wouldn't have had the courage to do it before meeting Steve Blum from Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
And obviously Mass Effect and every other thing in the world. But I saw him just go for it with these crazy voices, And it's one thing to hear it, right? It's one thing to hear James Arnold Taylor do all these amazing things. It's another thing to see them perform,
Yeah.
right? And so to see Steve kind of transform his whole body and his face and
Yeah.
the way he speaks, and to see other guys literally like grab their throat to tighten it to make different sounds, you get confidence and you say, okay, well, I want to try this. I want to voice more than just Kanan. Steve voices Zeb and every single
Everything
other
else.
person. And so you're like, it's something in your competitiveness is like, man, I gotta get my game up, man. I got one voice, and it sounds like a stoner cowboy half the time. You know what I mean? They're like, no, that's great. It makes Kanan cool. I'm like, all right, if you say so. I just make him more serious. You know what I mean? But Kanan's not hard to do. You don't smile and everything's here. And the only time you do smile is if you're talking crap to somebody.
Yeah.
But so Kanan's easy. But to see Zeb sort of like Steve goes through this process, he has the voice instantly, but all of a sudden everything's just
Yeah.
like he just you know what I mean? And
So
so
perfect.
for me, that gave me the confidence. And then I loved history growing up, and I still have passion for it. And I always loved speeches, powerful speeches, whether it was, from a general getting ready to go to war to politicians, even though I loathe most of them, to, religious figures, regardless of what faith they represented. I've always been impressed by people who could sort of motivate and rally, if you want to call them sheep. I think most people find that disrespectful,
Yeah.
so it's not a term I would use, but leaders need followers, but only certain people can lead. That's how Obama got elected. He had that presence. He gave a speech before John Kerry took a shot at it when he was still in Congress, and that was the end of John Kerry right there, because Obama's speech was so moneyed that it's like, how do you follow that? So when I came up with the Bulls voice, it was Winston Churchill and honestly Jim Cummings, Thunder and Pete from the Mickey Mouse Club, which is that guy. He's like, Mickey the Mouse, hey, how you doing? And Winston Churchill was here, and when you combine them both, you
Oh
become
my
the Iron
God.
Bull. And so that's kind of how it came to fruition, and that's how I started working on voices. It's just sort of a recipe, and there are a
Wow.
little bit of this and a little bit of that, and all of a sudden, I practiced the voice by doing old Winston Churchill speeches that I knew by heart. I
Wow.
even recorded one a long time ago on SoundCloud. I think Tink actually posted it. But it was the whole "We shall not flag or fail. We shall fight on to the end." Like that's even the Winston fist right there, right? Like I can't even
Wow.
help but do it when he says that. So that's kind of how it came about, and the Thunder and Pete was for the bass because he as much as three linebackers, and my voice wasn't deep enough, so that's where I got the bass for the voice to make him more, Barry White. And that was the Bull, man. So yeah, it was kind of crazy, but it was the first time I ever took a shot at doing one of those voices. And like I said, the confidence was from Steve, and the rest was all Jim and the great Winston Churchill. I don't know if you can say great. He was kind of a drunk and not the best guy, but he was a hell of a motivator, so whatever.
Is it a hard voice to maintain or not anymore?
Not anymore. The first session, yeah, because it was more like straining a muscle that hadn't been used before. So when I got home, like my voice was just shattered, shattered, shattered. But they do what's called an exertion plate, where you do like three different versions of basically every sound that the character would do. So it's here's if you got hit in the face lightly. Ugh. Here's what, and then they need a medium hit. Ugh. And now here's if you get hit by, a two-handed melee and get knocked on your ass, and it would be like, oh, whatever it is. So you do that for 6 hours because you got to remember it's like you're doing, love making noises, you're doing battle noises, you're doing, hey, look at that. Hey, look at that.
Oh my.
Hey, look at, it's like you got to do all these things. So at the end of that session, your voice is shattered. But like a muscle, the more I did it, the easier it got. The less I liked having breaks because I wanted to just
Keep
keep
going.
going and keep going. And the soundboard guy would be like, hey, man, you're screwing yourself out of sessions. You got to slow it down. You get a couple more sessions. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm cool. I don't need it. I didn't know he was like, no, I need the extra sessions, homie. I need the overtime. So then I slowed down on a couple of them. Sorry, Caroline. Just trying to help a dude out, man. He had kids.
Did you add anything to Iron Bull? Like when it comes to his
um,
personality?
we spoke a little bit. I mean, not look. You bring what you bring to the table, right? So I knew I wanted him to be hyper confident, and there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. My grandfather would say it's not bragging if you did it, and that's Iron Bull. Like he tells you who he is. He tells you he's the best. He also tells you he's expensive. He tells you he's a spy. You know what I mean? Like he's so when you get all that, there's not too much you have to do other than understand what it is that they're looking for. And they basically said, he's like a retired linebacker from the NFL. And so you just take that. That was literally the only description on the audition page that I read. It was like he's like a retired NFL player.
You're like, perfect,
Like, huh?
sold.
Okay. So I mean, the original voice I did that I auditioned with wasn't even the Iron Bull voice. It was me, but deeper.
Really?
And we're I think then they were called the Blazers or something. It's me and the Blazers. Welcome to whatever it was. I don't remember the dialogue. It wasn't, the good stuff that we got in the script. But when I got there, that was when I talked to. It was right after I had started with Steve on Star Wars, and that was when I pitched that voice to Caroline and was like, "Hey, can we try something like this?" And she was like, "Well, they liked your audition." I said, "Well, let me just give you a couple lines, and if you hate it, I'll go right back to what I auditioned, and we'll knock it out." And I did it, and she was like, "Oh, I kind of like that." And she said, "Just don't sound like Sean Connery." I said, "Okay, if I do, let me know." And so then we just did it. And if I got too on some of the words, then she'd let me know.
You're sounding like Sean Connery.
Yeah, I'd be like Tower Patrol, and she'd be like, "No, you can't sound like James Bond, even if you want to."
What was one of your favorite scenes to record as the bull?
Man, I mean, I loved a lot of them. The funniest, the most fun I had to me was the funniest one, and it was just a random one-liner, and I don't remember what, but it's party banter, and so you have to have them in your group to hear it, and you get to this. I don't remember what it is, but you have to. I think you go underground, and there's just this statue, and it's broken and crumbled, and there's just a giant hand there,
Right, right.
and Bull literally goes, "Anyone want a hand?" And he
Oh,
thinks it's
yeah.
the funniest joke in the world, and he starts literally like, "Ah!" And he literally thinks it's the greatest joke ever. And when I read that, Caroline was like, "So this is a terrible joke, Patrick. Why would anyone write that?" And I'm like, "No, it's supposed to be. I know exactly what he wants. Don't even give me a note. Let me just do it." So I did it, and that was literally like my favorite one. But that's not a scene. So my favorite scenes are if you save the Chargers, that scene that you have with him on the castle wall
Uh-huh.
when they try to assassinate him, and he's sort of telling you for the first time what the Qun actually meant to him, and you realize, wow, this is actually gonna. I mean, his people are safe. That was more important to him. But you can all of a sudden, like a huge part of your life that you've been denying for a long time, is now denying you. So even though it's like you were gonna break up,
Yeah.
but then she broke up with you first. And it's kind of, you know what I
And
mean?
you're
So
like,
it's a real. I make light of it now, but for him, obviously it's a real serious
Yeah.
moment, and I loved getting to play him sort of pitiful and in need of a stronger person to lean on instead of him being the strong person to lean
Yeah.
on. I liked that he was vulnerable and weak in that scene. Um, the other scene that I like and it was more because I just thought they were super brave to put it out there, was the sex scene with him. If you want to have that relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure I don't read too much about reviews and things like that, but I'm sure they took heat for
Oh,
that
yeah.
because it's a lot of people just go, "Oh my God, it's promoting rough, violent sex," and that's not what it's about. It's
Right.
about honesty and trust between two people, and that level of trust is heightened so much more than in most trusting, loving relationships. And he's the one that's pushing the honesty agenda, and he's the one that's pushing it may seem rough, but it's peaceful. You know what I
Yeah, the
mean?
way he
Because it's
approaches it, the way he
two
talks
people
about it.
agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of my favorites, and obviously when he gets flogged after the demons, That's just great. Just getting beat on and whipped and cane pulled like they do teenagers in Singapore who cut up. When I was a kid, there was a huge news story about some ambassador's like rich kid, American kid, who screwed up in Singapore and they were going to cane him. I think he was going to get like 20 whoopings. And half America was like, "How dare they? We should send the military there and get him." And the other half was like, "That boy needs to get whooped." So Iron Bull needed a good whooping.
Could you ever sacrifice the Chargers?
That's not even no.
No.
No. I've done 4 playthroughs and it's never even crossed my mind.
Nice.
It's never crossed my mind. Like it's not even.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like. I've never even watched it on YouTube.
Yeah,
like I don't even care. I'm like, yo, I don't care. Like if you do that, you suck. So screw you. I mean, it's your game and you bought it. It's your money and right on for you. But no, like,
no, it's not happening.
the information's not that important. It's just like little bits of gold.
It's not gonna happen. It never happened.
Like, screw it. Do another playthrough after you do it the correct way. But yeah, I couldn't do it. It wasn't like Mass Effect where, you know, I can play it every single way and feel really cool about it no matter what. With that and with Iron Bull and with what had happened and knowing how their relationship was
Yeah.
going in, like there's no man, there's no way. There's no way.
A lot of people love Creme.
Oh yeah, man, Creme's the bomb. And it's Jen Hale.
I know,
so
right?
You get some Shepherd love in there too.
How do you feel about Creme?
I love Creme. I always asked if they had like a thing, like if him and Creme were a thing, but I constantly was shut down and was told that Bull wouldn't look at her that way. But yeah, and I love Jennifer. I met her one time at a Mass Effect 3 like DLC thing. She was with her dad and he was like watching her work.
Oh,
and
dude, that's
he was
cool.
this like you want him to be your grandpa. He was like this nice older guy and he's watching his daughter who's an adult with kids like work. Like, and he was so proud of her. But I literally like fell in love with her. We were taking a picture and I said, "Oh my God, I like totally love you. You're so cool. You brought your dad to work." And she's like, "Yeah, you know, he's a great guy."
She seems like
She was
such a
super
cool person.
Yeah, she's all peace and love, hippied out. She's a good chick.
Awesome. Who's your favorite character in Dragon Age besides Iron Bull?
Well, I mean, Iron Bull's really first, second, and third.
Oh, so you're like nobody.
So, I mean, it would be a 4th place character. In the whole series? Or in Inquisition?
Inquisition.
Because the whole series, I'd probably say Hawk. Well,
Hawk
I'd probably
is a
say
good
Hawk.
character. Yeah.
From the whole series. But from Inquisition... Oh, man. I mean, Sarah's crazy as cat shit. I mean... That was my because that's the first character I romanced was Sarah. I'd play a female Inquisitor, and that literally was the first. I guess I like crazy, but she just
funny.
played that so cool and so carefree. I don't know, man. That's and her banter stuff just killed me all the time.
It's just natural.
So yeah, she's probably my favorite character. Yeah, because she's the first one I romanced. So yeah, that's definitely she's number 1.
Did you ever romance Bull?
Viv 2. Yeah, you're telling me to go F myself? It's not cool. No, I did not romance Bull. The only characters that I romanced were I had to play a male Inquisitor to do the Cassandra romance. But I liked that. I wanted to because I loved her because of Iron Bull and hers relationship, and I knew they always wanted to like get it on, even though she'd probably deny it. I've always felt like they had cool chemistry. So I picked a male Inquisitor on a run through just to romance, and it was a Kunari, just to romance Cassandra.
Oh, did I freeze? Okay, there we go.
We're unfrozen now.
Okay, cool.
But I never even completed that run through because it just I always play a female Inquisitor. I don't know why. I always played Femme Shep. I just don't want to look at a dude's butt.
I'm the same way.
30 hours.
I'm the same way. I make dudes, but for some reason a female Inquisitor felt right. For me.
I did. I don't know, man. I like Alex's voice a lot. I like Jen's voice a lot. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just more chick than dude. I don't know, man. I just like the female ones more.
Yeah, I'm finally gonna romance Iron Bull.
Finally, it's like
Finally.
2 years
I
later,
know.
man.
I just made my Kunari, my female Kunari.
Messed up. And why does it have to be Kunari?
Because I think that's gonna be
He's
hot.
colorblind. Why can't you be colorblind?
Because that's gonna be hot, though, dude.
Because it's gonna be hot. Kunari on Kunari
Yeah.
love. Someone's gonna make a creepy YouTube video because you just said that.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, they probably already have.
Yeah, they
Never
already
mind.
did.
They probably already have.
Yeah, this is
Do your
YouTube.
thing. Have fun.
Done, never mind. Who's a better flirt, Vega or Iron Bull?
See, I'll say Iron Bull, and I know why people would say Vega, but Vega almost makes you come to him. So I guess maybe he's better, but his is so like passive. It's like, oh, hey, Foxy, hey, Lola, but it's never like there's no committal, right? So I don't know if that's flirting or if he just doesn't have the guts to talk to FemShep. Because it really takes like Shep getting drunk to like break it down for him in DLC, where she's like, "Look, man."
And even then, it takes forever.
Yeah, and Vega's like, "Hey, I want to respect
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
You know, I don't want to do
Nah, I
anything
think
that you
Bull.
feel
Bull.
Yeah, so to me, Bull is the flirter. But I could see why people would say Vega because he almost makes her. There was a great episode of Friends where Phoebe has this relationship with this guy who won't sleep with her even though she wants to sleep with him. And he says because he doesn't want to freak her out and he knows a lot of women, they connect a lot of feelings to sex and he doesn't want to do that to her and mess her up. And so she basically says, "Oh, don't worry. You don't have to call me. You don't have to have feelings. We can just have sex." And she's telling this story to two guys, to Chandler and Joey, and they're both like, "This guy is my god. Like this guy's a legend. How did he pull that off?" And that's kind of who James is, right? If he's that devious, but I don't think he is.
Nah.
I think he's just a sweet guy who's not an alpha personality, so he's not going to make the first move.
Yeah.
Whereas Bull really is just sort of he's an equal opportunity lover. You know what I mean? He's like, "Look, there's not a food I don't like, so bring it on."
Bring it. The scenario is just because you play two big dudes, James Vega and the Iron Bull, in a full-on WWE match.
Okay, it's not 100% fair because Bull's gonna be stronger than Vega. So it's almost not a fair fight. It's like, hey, someone fighting Ronda Rousey. It's like I know you think you're gonna win, you're not. You're not. Like that whole Floyd Mayweather thing. Like if it was a boxing competition and she wasn't allowed to clinch, take him to the ground, and snap his arm in two, yeah, he would win. If they fought, she would annihilate him, and he would. I'm telling you, ask black belts of any martial art who you respect far more than me, anyone out there, and ask them that same question, and not one of them worth their weight is going to be like, yeah, Floyd would win. Only people who know boxing and love boxing, but only follow that combat sport, would think that Floyd's going to win. And everyone who brings that argument, I'm like, oh yeah, do you train martial arts? Do you watch UFC? They're like, no. And it's like, okay, so you like your guy. I got you, even though he's knocked out more women than men in the last 5 years, and that's disgusting. He's been convicted for it. You want to root for him? Right on. I root for Ronda Rousey, and she would whip his ass. So Iron Bull versus Vega is not a fair fight. If you wanted to have a competition between them, you could do a pull-up competition.
I was going to ask that. I was like, who do you think you could do
Bull has
pull-ups?
a ton of mass, right? He has to be able to lift that mass. And as we all know, big muscles use more oxygen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why big guys get tired and little guys go forever. Like soccer dudes run forever. Why? They're not super jacked. Football guys do an explosive move for 3 seconds and then they need oxygen. It's because their muscles are developed to do that one thing. And Bull is much more. I mean, you even hear him in the game get a little winded and be wheezing a little bit. You know what I mean? He's like, "Don't worry about it. Leave me alone. I'm in great shape." But so if you want to do like a pull-up competition, I think that would be that may be too Vega heavy, but I think it would be a fairer fight.
Do you think only another Kunari could take out Iron Bull?
No, there's characters from Dragon Age that I think could take out
like
Bull.
Sten or something?
But nah, Sten ain't gonna beat Sten. Sten ain't beating Bull.
Why not?
Sten's fighting is straightforward by the book, and Iron Bull breaks the rules, man. He's more diverse. He has more techniques available to him.
Who could beat
so
Bull?
Bull's
then?
gonna whoop on Sten. I think a mage could beat Bull if they could keep him away, and certainly a demon. But I think a mage could beat Bull. I mean, Dorian could probably beat Bull if he could keep him away. Vivian's probably more powerful than Dorian.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
She's a knight enchanter, totally.
Yeah, so I don't think that would be much of a fight. But if he gets close to you, you don't
You're
want to
done.
have cloth as your armor. So, but yeah, I don't think there's a Mass Effect character that could beat him. I mean, maybe a
A
Krogan.
biotic?
Yeah, but a biotic. Yeah, okay. So let's say my favorite Allie Hennis. Yeah, so she could beat him, and then what's her face? The epic Asari chick, the one with the daughter, and you have to pick.
Yeah.
You have to pick between her and her daughter. More something. MOR.
Oh my God.
Help me. She's the Asari, like.
Yeah.
God,
Samara.
she's like awesome.
Samara.
What is it?
Samara.
Thank you. So yeah, Samara. Yeah. So if it was her, someone like that, but like the straight melee guys, I don't know. I don't even.
A Krogan.
I don't think a Krogan could get him. Maybe.
Rex, probably.
They're tough, man, but they do kind of the straightforward that we're having such a serious conversation about this.
We're like
This is so funny.
like.
I'm like yeah, I guess
No.
a Krogan could. Whoa, he really is a nerd. Like gamers are like, wow, he got all serious for a second. I did. And Bull would cheat. Sten wouldn't cheat.
Bull would totally
Bull
cheat.
would for sure cheat. He'd be like, sorry, he kicked you in the balls. Like, it was just, that's the way life goes, man. No one should ever get to voice a Kunari again except me. That's the rule.
Damn, this needs to be done. I need to see this.
You want to see Sten fight Bull?
Yes.
Talk to Laidlaw, man.
Let's make it happen.
Make him do something crazy that he doesn't want to do.
Hey, Freddie's down. He said he was.
Yeah, no, that'll totally make it happen. He'll be, oh, Freddie says so. Yeah, let me get right on that. I mean, you see in the movie, so this isn't a spoiler, Vader doesn't play, and he whoops on Kanan, and it's not even close. And he injures Sabine, he injures Kanan,
no.
he makes Ezra hold his lightsaber to his own throat and almost makes him cut his own throat. We drop walkers on him with the Force, and he just power lifts him right off, and it's game
Oh
over.
man, I
Like,
need to see
we-
this.